Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, again, these are companies that I used as an AD, some of them every single day, and they were all great companies. That's part of the reason that they're sponsors. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview. And then, if you're not already using one of these platforms, I strongly encourage you to check them out. I think you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, I'm telling you, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school and it was great. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank Home Campus. Whether it's scheduling, rosters, or results, you're going to use Home Campus every day. I've told you before, the athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com, and as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program. And here's the cool thing. While they were getting their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Let's say thanks to Hometown. Hometown continues to change the game with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. How about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an AD or a principal, even a coach, Hometown's going to help you save time. It's going to help you raise more money, and it's going to help you bring your community together. That's hometown.com. We want to say thanks to our friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record board for all the teams or show off your school's Hall of Fame, check out their website and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. You put one of these units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Let's say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing genius. Whether it's a simple post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great work your school's doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. That's Gipper.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Let's thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, even your parents, you're really missing out. We use surveys at my school for just about everything. And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back, almost always over the top positive, and it'll probably be the same for you. You also get to hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but the survey allows you to hear their concerns, address them before they turn into something big, and you still have all that positive data to use. Well, maybe you're visiting with your principal, or how about even your school board. The website is athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today, athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. And I guess our countdown to 700 interviews. Today, it's episode number 699. And we truly have, I don't want to say an old friend, a longtime friend, who was our second ever interview when we started this 5 years ago. I'm talking about the great Tammie Talley. She is a certified athletic administrator, and she is the director of athletics for Duval County Public Schools. Obviously, that's here in Florida. She's been on the podcast a couple other times. She was a part of our All-Star Athletic Director book, where we featured 10 great women athletic directors from Florida. Very active at the state and national level, and it's a busy time. So, Tammie, welcome back to the Education Lady podcast.
Thank you, Jake. I'm excited to be here again. Number 699. Wow. Kudos to you and everybody across the country that's participated in this because I know it's been very helpful, not only to our new athletic directors, but definitely our veteran ones as well.
Oh, well, you're very kind. I just enjoy doing it. I love to hear the stories. Since I'm retired, I've got time to do it. So, hey, let's talk to ADs and get them to share their best practices. Um, we did this originally, but we're going to do it again. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So, give us your quick background, where you were born, where you grew up. Just take us up through your college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Tammie Talley origin story?
Very good. Well, thank you, Jake. So I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. Not many of us that were born and raised here. I did in my middle school years. My parents moved to Crescent City, Florida, and I played three sports in Crescent City, middle school and high school. Ended up playing volleyball, basketball, and softball. And then my senior year, I signed a scholarship to play volleyball at Indian River Community College. Went down there and played volleyball. And then I came back up to Jacksonville. FSCJ at the time had started a volleyball team, and I was the first ever volleyball player for that team. And then I transferred to UNF, and the rest is kind of history. I met my husband there. After I graduated from UNF, I started out as a teacher and a coach, and I was the assistant athletic director at Paxson. My athletic director at the time, halfway through my first year as a teacher, got sick. And my principal said, well, you were the assistant AD, so now I'm going to make you the interim athletic director. Woohoo! So I became the interim athletic director for the second half of my first year of teaching, all while I was a new bride. And then my second year, my athletic director didn't come back. So my principal said, you did such a great job as the interim. We're going to name you the athletic director. And so the next 5 years I spent there after my first year, I was the athletic director. I coached volleyball. I coached softball, and I also brought girls flag football to the district at that time, which was a fast growing sport. It definitely is now. But we really popped it at that time, and then transferred to Mandarin High School, where I was the
Right.
athletic director there for 14 years. I coached volleyball there as well. I was the student activities director and had a sports leadership class, which I grew. And I'm very proud of that class because I felt like it taught a lot of our student athletes how to do things outside of just playing sports and just being a good student. And then now I'm in my 14th year in the district office as the county AD in Duval. Go Jags. And here we are. I'm still married after almost 35 years. We have three daughters that are all grown and two grandkids, which we adore. Probably should have had those kids first. But
Yeah.
here we are now, and I'm finishing up. I have about a year and a half left, and then I'll be retiring and moving on into the sunset like you, Jake.
Well, again, thanks for sharing. We're going to take a deeper dive into your career, but I want to go all the way back to those middle school, high school days. Now, I'm a little bit older than you, but I think we're both of an era, at least when we were in high school, where it was the norm to do three sports and more. Do you recall any of your high school coaches saying, Tammie, you shouldn't be playing, whatever, basketball. You should be doing, softball year round. Was that a thing for you?
No, there was never year-round sports back in the time when I played. I had some coaches that I distinctly remember were huge mentors and role models in my athletic career. And it was more encouraged to play, multiple sports in school and not so much. I don't even ever remember travel softball or travel volleyball or anything like that. It was just we went from one sport to the next, and we traveled with our high school teams, with our volleyball, with our middle school teams, and participating with the kids that lived in our neighborhood, which is a lot different now as well.
Yeah, I remember distinctly. I went back to my high school the year after I graduated college that summer, and there was this big, basketball thing, summer league basketball, and I'm going, wait, where did this come from? It's just we're dating ourselves, obviously. Um, you mentioned that you had an opportunity to be part of a startup volleyball program, or no, a softball program in
Oh,
college.
volleyball.
Oh, volleyball. Okay, I thought I was right. Um, how was that, coming into a college program and being one of the foundational player?
It was a phenomenal experience. I talked a little bit about the role model that I had as a middle school and high school athlete. Holly Pickens, she just was a huge mentor in my life as a middle school and a high school student. And then after I got into college, I was recruited by Mary Andrew, who is a local volleyball coach here in town, that not only recruited me to play volleyball at the first ever college team here in town, but also then she started her own travel volleyball program in Jacksonville, JJVA. And so to be a part of that organization, the first ever team, I was also named the most valuable player, which was, I'm 5'3", so I'm not like the middle blocker. I'm not scoring a whole bunch of points or getting a whole bunch of blocks. But I was pretty feisty on the court as a setter and as a, defense specialist. And so I enjoyed that. I learned so much from those volleyball coaches in high school and middle school and taught me how I wanted to be as a coach when I became a coach, and how I wanted to be as an athletic director, and the things that I wanted to do in my community that they did as well.
Now, again, I'm showing my volleyball ignorance. Our oldest daughter played volleyball, but when you were a player, that was pre-libero days. Okay,
Absolutely.
would that have been a thing you would have been in favor of? That you would have excelled as a libero? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I was pretty feisty on the court. And so I'm sure that my volleyball coaches would have wanted me to play, all the way around and be the libero for sure.
Uh,
Just because, I was, energetic, I was feisty, I was small, I was fast, I could move a lot, but I also loved the setter position because I could, set the team up for offense and, score some points. And I didn't have a bad serve either. Pretty good little jump serve for being a small, feisty little player.
well, yeah, the setter, the libero, that's the quarterback of the volleyball team. You're making things happen. Um, let's go ahead and look at not so much your career. We'll cover that in the next segment, but you talked already about the mentors that you had back in the day. Were you thinking, hey, I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to be a teacher, I might even be an AD, or did all that, I know the AD happened kind of by accident, but was that something you were thinking about that, hey, I'm going to be a teacher coach?
I feel like I'm one of the few people who knew what I wanted to do, and there was never any side streets. It was one path to being a teacher. It was a one path to being a coach. And in high school, I was a executive intern for our athletic director at the time, and I really wanted to be an athletic director. And I never varied from that at all because of those middle school mentors I had, the high school teachers that I had, the high school athletic director I had, and even my college coaches and college professors. It was really all that I ever wanted to do. And people even say now, well, what are you going to do after retirement? I tell them I love my job so much as an athletic director that I'm not going to retire and go do something else. If I was, going to get another job, I would just stay doing what I'm doing and not retire. I would just, stay in that position. So
Oh no, I think many of us, feel that same way. And again, those of us that have, I did 41 years. You're talking about, almost that. You're not going to do that that long, if you don't like it. It's just it's
that's right.
counterintuitive.
That's right.
Um, let's go and take our first break. Once again, for our listeners, our guest today is Tammie Talley, certified athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics for the Duval County Public School System right here in Florida. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise for their support of the podcast. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to their website and check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Tammie, in our opening segment, you talked a little bit about some of the stops that you had. I think it's important for our listeners to hear about the journey that we all take. So could you go through that again? You're a recent graduate, where was that first job?
So the first job, well, I like to back up a little bit because prior to graduating, I did my internship at Andrew Jackson High School, and it's a lot of the kids that were there at the time that were my students are now coaches in the community. They're coaches at our local middle schools and high schools. But as soon as I graduated after that internship, I got hired at Paxson. At the time, it was an inner city school. I was the only female PE teacher. And so during that time, usually the females were the assistant athletic director, and our titles were the co-educational coordinator. And I did all of the paperwork, and our male coaches were typically the football coaches, the athletic directors, and they would take care of field maintenance and things like that. And then, like I had discussed, my athletic director became ill. And because I was already doing the paperwork, and at that time at my school, there were only 3 PE teachers: the football coach, the athletic director, and then me, the volleyball coach. And I was the assistant AD. So 3 years into inner city school, we transitioned to a dedicated magnet. And then my last 3 years at Paxson, it was a dedicated academic magnet. And then after that, I did transfer to Mandarin High School, which at the time was the biggest high school in the district. And that was a big transition for me, coming from our school at Paxson was probably middle of the road as far as size wise was concerned. We have 17 high schools in Duval County. So we were probably 8th or 9th in size, especially after we transitioned from a dedicated magnet and then moving to Mandarin High School, where we had at the time probably almost 3,000 students and offered every single sport that there was. And so became the athletic director, which I learned so much during my time as an assistant AD, even though it was short-lived, and then an athletic director at one school that had 2 different makeups. And then at the biggest high school, there was so much that I learned along the way. And the biggest thing that I learned is being involved in your local and your state organizations, whether it's through physical education, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through athletic administration. I learned so much from other ADs and coaches in not only my city, but in the state and even the nation, because learning that the problems that I was having, they were having the same ones and they were dealing with them the same way that I was, but also learning from them and taking what they did and maybe making it my own. You know, having documents that stay in Word documents and we're just changing names and making it fit our particular school, right? Or our particular team. So there was really so much that I learned. And then when I became a county athletic director, I really wanted to stay connected with my schools because I felt it was important as an athletic director that I continued to coach so that I stayed in tune with my coaches and didn't get too far away from that to where I was put expectations on them that maybe they couldn't meet because I was so far away from it from just being an athletic director, not understanding about parent meetings and about facility upkeep and stuff like that as a coach and not just as an athletic director. And then even now, my journey as a county athletic director, I have stayed very involved in my local and state organizations through professional development and making sure that I'm mentoring new athletic directors and new coaches and things like that.
Boy, spoiler alert for our listeners. We're still going to do the toolbox segment at the end, but one of Tammie's tools, again, she was our second guest ever. Big surprise. Professional development was one of the tools. We'll see if that's still in her toolbox today. Um, I want to go back to that first job where you talked about, and again, it was simply the time that we lived in. You know, the football coach was the AD. If there was a woman in the department, she was the assistant. Um, and again, these are my words, not necessarily yours. You've already said multiple times that you had great mentors, great people to work with while you were doing that job, while you were doing that paperwork job, and back then it was paperwork, um, were you thinking, hey, this is a great learning experience for me? Or were you, boy, I can do that other stuff. I wish I could, or, what are your memories of that time early in your career?
Jake, I think it was kind of a combination of both. I've always been like a sponge. I really want to learn stuff. I'm somebody who likes to listen and take stuff in, and I kind of have to run it through my mind. And sometimes I have to write it down, and sometimes I have to talk about it. And so I think I was a sponge wanting to learn so much and doing it all. But then being a leader, I also felt like there were some things that I could do better, most definitely. And or faster, or why are we doing like this, or let's try this, or why don't we have more people involved doing that? So yeah, I think I was kind of a combination of both of those things in my professional career as a teacher and a coach and an athletic director.
And I think that's normal for anybody. When you're the assistant, you see things and, you're supporting your boss, you're supporting the program, but at the same time, hey, I think I could do that, or I could do that in a different way, or I could do it better. No, I think that's just human nature. Um, Now you had the interim AD experience, and then that developed, morphed into your first AD experience. Um, Once you're in charge, that's a new experience. So we talk about you don't know what you don't know, either in that interim period or when you became the AD for the first time officially. What was something that you found out that you didn't know?
The time commitment of being an athletic director. That was a little bit, right? A new bride. And then my first 3 years of being a high school teacher and a coach and an athletic director. My husband and I, we got married the first year. We had our first daughter the second year. We had our third daughter the third year, and our second daughter the third year, and our third daughter the fourth year. And so it was super busy trying to balance being a mom and a wife, but also being a coach and a teacher and an athletic director. It was a lot trying to balance all of that. And yeah.
Yeah, no, boy, as you were describing that, the timing of that, it's almost a carbon copy of my wife and myself. And she was a teacher. She's a very successful cross country coach, and I was an AD and a football coach. And I kept remember, I would say, "Well, geez, how come you're going? You should be, it's your turn to be home." And she goes, "Well, I got a cross country race to go to." So, I mean, yeah, balancing all that stuff, definitely a challenge. And we had our kids, bang, 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 just like that. Let's go and take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Tammie to share um, kind of her current position, which she's done for a number of years, but also let's talk a little bit about how the job has changed over the years and particularly maybe since COVID from 5 years ago when we first started this podcast. So we're going to take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is the official sports administration platform for several states, for thousands of athletic directors. And even if your state uses a different platform, you can still be a home campus school. I'm telling you, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. To find out more, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We'd also like to thank Ohio University on their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And here's a cool extra. While you're completing your degree, you also get to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online master's degree in athletic administration. We'd also like to thank Hometown. Hometown continues to change the game with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more? Whether you're an AD, a head coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com for more information. And as always, don't forget to tell them about the podcast. We're back with our guest, Tammie Talley. She was the number 2 guest ever when we started doing interviews 5 years ago. And now she is guest number 699 for the podcast. Tammie, you've been the county athletic director for Duval County Public Schools for a number of years. Can you give some broad brushstrokes? How many schools, how many kids, et cetera? But then I'm really curious, how have you seen your job change in the time you've been AD and also maybe even the time since COVID 5 years ago?
Yeah, so Duval County is the 6th largest district in the state of Florida. We are the 20th largest in the United States. And specifically, our district, I oversee 17 high schools that have sports, up to 36 sports. And we have 25 middle schools that have sports, up to 14 sports. We offer tackle football in middle school and high school, and then everything in between, swimming, cross country, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls softball, volleyball, all of the sports we offer. And probably close to 120,000 students in the district. We have around 15,000 student athletes that participate in athletics, and then over 3,000 coaches, which we certify in our district. So that's a little bit about Duval County. We also have full-time athletic trainers in all of our high schools, which I'm very proud of, because sports safety is extremely important in our district and across the nation, keeping our student athletes safe and making sure that everyone is knowledgeable about sports medicine and heat and hydration and concussions and now ECGs and all of those things, which I think has probably been a big change from COVID to now, is how we've been able to fine tune our safety protocols and procedures, right? We had to go through so much to keep everybody social distancing and make sure things were sanitized and that we knew who was coming in and out of the gates and things like that. And even our digital ticketing, we used to have cash money and we were touching that and everybody was touching that. And then we were giving everybody a ticket. And so the landscape of sports has changed significantly since COVID, but I like to take the positive route, and I feel like it's changed for the better in so many ways. Like I said, as it relates to sports safety, and then just doing things, a lot different but better. Um, just from the paperwork itself, right? So we
Right.
used to have to do money's collected forms when we were turning in money, and we used to have to do ticket report forms and W-9s and duty rosters. And now we don't do any of that, right? Everything is electronic, whether it's through Arbiter or whether it's through whatever, officials mechanism that we use, and we're able to pay people electronically. We're able to take tickets and get admission electronically and pay electronically. So a lot of good things I feel like have come out of COVID and have changed the job as an athletic administrator for the better.
Wow. All great, great points. And again, the electronic processing for student athletes, for physicals, for the permission forms, consent forms, things like that. 3,000 coaches and all the student athletes that you mentioned. I just can't imagine, doing that by hand the old-fashioned
I
way.
know, right?
And yet you were doing that. Um, I'm going to throw a curveball at you here a little bit. You're in charge of 17 high schools. You oversee 17 high schools. Each one has their own AD. There's, district mission and vision, but each school kind of has their own identity. I'm going to get to my point here in a minute. My career in Florida was primarily at three private schools. I think the biggest one in the high school, I think we had maybe 550 when I was at Palmer Trinity. So I'm talking about a smaller sample size. But one thing that I was very fortunate as an AD, and I had a great boss at all these schools, I had great coaches. We really didn't have a problem with player or coach ejections. And I know the state keeps track of all this stuff. Ejections continue to go up. And I'm just going, why? How does this happen? Now, I don't know what your feelings are or how many ejections you have. I think I can guess, but what are some things that you do with your ADs and with your coaches, with your student athletes to help prevent those ejections from ever occurring so you don't have to deal with the aftermath?
No, great question, Jake. And I love talking about this topic because sportsmanship is so important. And we require all of our athletic programs to have some type of sportsmanship initiative. I won't say we don't care what it is, but we give them flexibility to
Right.
create it at their school, whatever works best for them, right? Some of our schools buy like these different color bands that are their school colors. And whenever the athletic director sees one of their student athletes or a fan acting appropriately, right? They slide into second base, they knock over the second baseman gets up and, just brushes himself off, doesn't try to throw a punch or do something like that. They'll give these bands out, right? Some of our middle schools do, the old timey way. They'll take their picture and post them on the bulletin board and say sportsmanship athlete of the week, or make an announcement in the cafeteria, or the principal will put something in the newsletter. But when and if we do have unsportsmanlike conducts, then all of my schools are required to do something in addition to whatever the state says that they have to do, whether it's sit a minimum of 2 games, whether it's the NFHS sportsmanship course. They also have to do what we call educational opportunities for our student athletes to learn that we can't let our emotions get the best of us. And they can be something as simple as writing an apology letter to the official. It could be doing a video presentation of what I've learned about my ejection, and they do that to a middle school team or to some younger kids at their school. And so maybe it's community service work, maybe it's they have to go and do announcements, at the local feeder school and help out that school. So we require them to do something above and beyond what is already mandated by the state if they get an ejection. And we require that of our coaches as well. We don't pay fines for our coaches. But I will tell you the one thing that I think has the most impact, and I haven't grown it as much as I would like to, is the sports officiating classes in our district. Having student athletes learn the rules and practice running up and down that court as a basketball official or behind that plate as a baseball official and learning that really, I think, teaches our student athletes that it's not an easy job to wear those stripes and call that game. And guess what? Those officials are human, just like we are as coaches. We don't always make the best decisions and who we're supposed to put in at what position and at what time. And we don't always get yelled. Well, we do get yelled at a lot by parents and other people, but probably not as much as the officials do, right? And so having that sports officiating class for our upperclassmen to learn the rules and learn the mechanics of the game and practice being an official. And also having our student athletes act out. I used to do this when I was at high school. We would have, back when fall, winter, and spring sports all started at the same time, I would have one parent meeting at the beginning of the year, and I would address all of the parents, all of the fall sport parents as an athletic director. And then we would have the principal come in, they do a presentation, maybe our athletic trainer. And then prior to us breaking out into our individual sport meetings, I would have my sports leadership class do they would act out, they would have a skit that they had prepared ahead of time where they are acting like fans in the stands who are inappropriate. And so some of my seniors would be officials and some of my officials would be parents. And then some of our student athletes would be just the student athletes, and they would act that out. And the parents would get to see what their child thinks of them in the stands yelling and screaming. And I thought that was pretty impactful. We probably don't do it as much. I think I may bring that back. I may bring that back in my last couple of years because it was very impactful, I think, for me as an athletic director and for parents and for coaches.
No, I think it's a great idea. And again, our parents, sometimes even our coaches, they can hear stuff from us as ADs again and again, but when they hear it, from the student athletes, it does really make an impact. I have a couple of presentations at their Genesis where student athletes at Palmer Trinity, when I was the AD there, that they found this video on YouTube or this thing. So yeah, absolutely. The students are great. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but let's do it right now. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more about things that you learned over your career, things that you could do currently, Duval County, what's the best way our listeners can connect with Tammie Talley?
Definitely reach out to me via email. My email address is tallyt@duvalschools.org. I'm also on social media. I'm on Twitter, so you can follow me at @tallymama. And I love finding, positive posts, quote posts, anything about officials or sportsmanship or scholarship opportunities that I can retweet or repost, or gives me ideas to share with my athletic directors here in Jacksonville to do something that's going to positively promote, whether it's sportsmanship or anything in the district.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. Tammie does a great job on social media, posting events and results and, congratulatory messages. So yeah, follow Tally Mama on X. Her information is also available through the NIAAA member directory portal. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support of the podcast. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, Go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. You put one of these units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. That's sidelineinteractive.com. And we want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Gipper's used and trusted by thousands of high schools and colleges across the country. It's professional graphic design made easy. Whether it's a simple social media post to acknowledge a big victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great stuff your athletic department is doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. Post text, images, video, graphics, use colors and logos that your district wants you to use. You're going to find it all at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and, like I said, don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Tammie, one of your themes has been professional development. I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we heard about it. Let's turn that lens around at you. You know, you're a certified athletic administrator. That doesn't happen by accident. You were also president of the Florida Athletic Coaches Association. You're active with our state association. You're active at the national level. Can you kind of share a little bit about your history? How did you first get involved with these organizations and what kind of impact have they had for you?
Yeah, professional development has always been important to me. I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. I'm just a sponge. I love listening to people. I love learning about things. I'm not so much of a big book reader, although I do love self-help stuff and things like that, but I'm just not like a big, book reader, but I just love to learn as much as I can from watching other people, from listening to them. And so, my journey with professional development, specifically with my state organization, started when I was at Paxson, and the athletic director at Baldwin Middle Senior High School, his name was Bo Galloway. He invited me to come to an FIAAA clinic in May. And when I went there, I fell in love with all the opportunities that there were there for me to learn, not only from the sessions, but from just talking to people in between the sessions, from talking to people during lunch, from sharing, from trading different things that we were doing, getting their emails and following back up with them about what they're doing, looking at their handbooks. It's always been a part of me since I've been a little kid, about wanting to learn and grow in whatever it was that I was doing. And so I became involved in the FIAAA through Bo Galloway, went for several years to the conference, and then I became a district director. I was a district director for many years and learned a lot from those who sat on the board with me at the FIAAA. And then I kind of went into a little bit of a leadership track. I started serving on committees and chairing committees. And then I became the secretary of the organization, which I have thoroughly enjoyed. And that part of it, I felt like, has made me learn even more about the organization and how I can help fellow athletic directors in my district and across the state of Florida. And so I've really enjoyed that journey along the way with the FIAAA. I became involved in our state coaches association, the FACA, very similar way. Some coaches in the district got me involved in attending coaches clinics. And then as an athletic director, I encouraged my coaches to attend because I know how much it helped me and I wanted it to help them just as much. And then the same thing, I became a board member. I became in that leadership track. And as you spoke of, I was the president of the organization. I was the first female president of the FACA. And then in our national organization for coaches, I went on and became the National Athletic Director of the Year, which I'm very proud of. It was very enlightening. It was an honor, and I love the fact that everybody, it's kind of funny, everybody thinks that the Florida coaches and Florida athletic directors and Florida sports are just rock stars. Not me specifically, but just they're, because they hear of all the different things that we do in Florida and some of the things that we don't do. So it's always been fun for me to share best practices that I have and even some things that have failed, right? I feel like I've learned so much more from the things that have failed than the things that have been successful for me, although I like to share those as well.
No, and again, thanks for giving that overview. It's not just the AD Association, not just the coach or the state association that you've been deeply involved across the board. I think you're absolutely right. It's a message, or you can tell me if I'm wrong. When I get to speak at high schools to parent groups, one of the things that I talk to parents about is that they need to let their child fail. That's how we get better. Let the coaches coach. That's the definition of coaching, helping a kid
Absolutely.
overcome failure. Let's, as ADs, we grow in the same way. Hey, this is a great idea. Let's try this. And then, okay, it didn't work out so well. I'm putting you on the spot. Can you share one of those failures at the time that turned into a growing moment and a success down the road?
For as a coach or as an athletic director?
Let's just say as a leader.
As a leader, I think probably I was so always fast moving that sometimes I felt like it was my way or the highway. Sure. And a lot of times as an athletic director and even a coach, you have to take a deep breath, take a step back, listen and learn, and try to just, your way isn't always the best way, right? There's three sides to every story: my side, your side, and what really happened. And so being able to do that as a leader, whether it's as a teacher, a coach, or an athletic director, and take some advice from some other people and see that although it may in my mind think it works best this way, sometimes I do need to try other ways and listen to what other people have to say and try to learn from their experiences, whether it be positive or negative.
Yeah. Again, I think just about anybody listening, at least I hope everybody listening, might have had a similar experience. By the time I got to the McClay School, the last stop in my career as an AD, I think I'd made enough mistakes that I had learned some of those hard lessons. And I was blessed with just an outstanding group of coaches, a great boss. But I'll never forget our head volleyball coach. She had played at Florida State, very successful, and she's, looking at this new AD, and it was very pleasant, but I think I'd been on the job for about a month. It was during summer, so I was there every day, summer camp. She was there, and we would have lunch together by accident, maybe at least once a week. But I think after that first month, she came to me, and we're eating lunch, and she goes, Jake, I think we're going to get along good. And I go, well, why do you say that? And she goes, well, we're both alphas, but we both have said that we can learn something from other people. And I felt nice that they had recognized that quality in me because it wasn't always there. It wasn't always there for me, and it certainly wasn't her. So thanks for sharing that story.
Jay, do you think most athletic directors are type A? I just wonder what, in all the interviews that you've done, do you feel like the majority of athletic directors are type A?
I'm going to answer it this way. I think they're type A from the organizational perspective, extremely type A. Uh, the chairs. Do you know Chris Harris at all? He's at Evangel over in Fort Myers, a great AD. He's gotten into kind of the TikTok thing recently, and he posted a TikTok video of how he sets up the chairs for the home events in the gym. And you start with this chair at the end of the rug, and then he puts his foot out there, and the next chair goes right next to the foot, all the way down. And I'm just going, that's me. That's exactly me. And just those types of things to the minutia of the organizational job. I think one of my challenges was I was definitely type A early on in dealing with parents. Okay. It's okay. Mom, dad, we got this. You step back, you stay in your lane. And I grew in the role eventually to where I was much more willing to listen, kind of like my volleyball coach told me, you're willing to listen and learn from other people. So I think people bring their own personality, but as far as that organizational DNA, if you will, yes, I think athletic directors are type A in that regard. What do you think?
Well, I think most are. I find myself that I'm not type A at all. And I just wonder, and all my athletic director mentors that I really look up to are very type A. And I don't see myself as type A at all. And so I wonder how I'm able to maneuver all of this and
I'm going to say this would be my guess is I think a lot of us, certainly for me, I was a teacher, I was a coach, I climbed that ladder as a coach, assistant coach, head coach, small school, bigger school, etc. And then I became an AD, I think for the first time at, I don't know, 34, 35. And it was one of those situations, Daryl Nance, he uses this expression. Many of us become ADs because we weren't fast enough to duck when the superintendent threw the keys at us. And so it was, you don't know what you don't know. You started out in those internship positions, student AD, assistant AD, interim AD. And I think you had a chance to grow in the job as you were growing, in life, in your career. And that would be my guess as to why you maybe aren't that classic type A, we're going to do it this way, mister. Okay.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on again after 5 years. But you came on a couple times in between for our All-Star Athletic Director book. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Now, you've done this before 5 years ago. You're a seasoned AD, but in a minute, I'm going to challenge you again to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put one tool in the toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, we're going to see what Tammie Talley puts in her second athletic director toolbox. So please stay with us. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. In my schools, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that came back on these surveys was almost always over the top positive. We still got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concerns, typically address them before they turned into something big. But having that 98% positive data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or how about even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. You're going to be glad you did. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We have just, in my opinion, just had a tremendous visit again with a good friend, Tammie Talley. She's the Director of Athletics for the Duval County Public School System. That's in Duval County, Florida. Tremendous background as a coach, as a leader, as an athletic director. Right now, I'm going to challenge her again to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 tools in the toolbox. So, Tammie, I already shared with you offline your original tools from 5 years ago. Do you got some new ones, or are you going to stand pat? What tools are you going to put in your new athletic director toolbox?
Well, if you listen to the podcast, you probably did hear that professional development is extremely important to me. So that one is definitely staying in the toolbox. I think it's important as a brand new athletic director. I definitely think it needs to stay important to even the veteran athletic directors because things change, right? We went from mimeograph printing back in those days to now, emails and social media and electronic ticketing, right? So we've definitely need that professional development to learn. So that's always, I think, going to stay in my toolbox. But as I've grown in, as I've gotten out of the schools and into the district office, because I've lost those connections with student athletes direct day to day, I feel like making sure that we have positive student athlete experiences for our kids across the district, middle school, high school. Sometimes them coming to school is the most positive things in their life, and so making them have some success or helping them to learn, I think that that's extremely important. And I try to do that from the district office and try to give tools to our high school, middle school athletic directors so they can do it directly with their students at their schools. But I think probably to me, the one thing that it's taking me a long time to learn this. I always knew it was important, but now that I'm towards the end of my career, the one thing that I want to add to my toolbox is relationships, and having relationships with everybody who supports athletics, right? It's not just your boss, it's not just your coaches, it's not just your student athletes and your parents, but it's all of those individuals as well as the community, the people in the community that support you. It's your game day management that supports you, whether it's your ambulance, your athletic trainers, your police officers, your ticket takers, your concession workers, and thanking those people for what they do, and not just with a paycheck. It's inviting them to an appreciation luncheon. It's inviting them to your award ceremony. It's maybe announcing them at your games. It is potentially maybe putting something in the yearbook or in the program. A handwritten letter to me goes a really long way of thanking somebody for what they've done for you, how they've supported your program. And so I think relationships definitely need to be added to my toolbox.
Oh, well, again, knowing you as long as I've known you, and again, listening to you today, not surprised at all that you added those two to your toolbox. Doesn't mean the other ones still aren't important. Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and connect, pick your brain a little bit more. And listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way they can get a hold of Tammie Talley?
You can email me at tallyt@duvalschools.org, or you can hit me up on X, on Twitter at TallyMama.
Okay. Well, Tammie, I almost said Tally. Tammie, thanks again for coming back on the podcast. Again, you always have a free pass anytime you want to come on and share something. All the best moving forward from fall into our winter sports, and looking forward to a great NADC experience next month in Tampa.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Jake. I appreciate it. Loved being here, and love talking to anybody who wants to reach out to me to learn a little bit or maybe teach me something. I'm open to that as well.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and just remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.